Welcome to part 6. We're going to be bringing in the fire. I'm going to show you guys some really great things you can do with this fire, and we're going to make some custom brushes. We're just going to have a lot of fun. We're going to we're going to love it. So let's go ahead and make our fire group back visible, and I'm going to shift click on all these layers real quick and just change them all to screen real quick. That's just going to give us, well, it's going to give us that. And you guys can just do whatever you want with this fire. I wanted to include quite a bit so you guys, you could just have a lot of options in whatever you do. So don't feel like you got to do exactly what I do or anything like that. And you can combine these together. Like you can see, they're gonna look pretty cool, if you combine them together. So let's just kind of like scale them. I'm gonna hit Command T and scale some about to the place where I think they might look good, and then we can just kind of figure out which ones we want to include where, and if we want to combine them or whatever. So using screen blending mode just is a really great way to get your, let's just zoom out a little bit more, is a really great way to get the blacks to be invisible, and then all you have to really worry about is your, is anything that's light, which in this case is the fire. So kind of like a quick, easy way of cutting something out, which I always prefer the faster method if you if you can do something faster, because time is precious. Alright, not only just for you, but if you ever decide to do this kind of work for clients or whatever, like if you can do something in half the time as someone else, that's a pretty great way to get continuous work. I've seen it over and over again. Retouchers who work quicker often get more jobs, and they get paid more too. So that's, it helps to be fast. Using keyboard shortcuts and knowing how all your layers and everything like that interact, it's just like a really great way to get nice and fast. Cool. So that actually looks kind of cool with all that fire around there. It doesn't make that much sense really, but it does look kind of cool. So now we can kind of like figure out, which piece of fire looks cool in which place. Also keep in mind the fire that's coming from her is going to be more of this blue color, right? Alright, so let's see about selecting out some of this fire here. Now it's going to be kind of tough to actually click on some of this fire and see. I'm going to start just deleting out the things that I don't think we'll wind up using. So let's just hit Command T, and I'll see about, do I want to include that? That's like a torch that goes straight up. I wish there was a place where I could have more fire, in this image, but it really doesn't make sense except for in these two places. Alright, so I probably won't use that one. Let's just hit delete on there. This one I like a lot. We're going to use this one for sure. I don't know who yet is going to be holding this one, but this fireball is just awesome. Let's flip that horizontally. Maybe she's holding it, maybe he's holding it, I don't know. She should probably hold that one. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Rotate it around. You can stretch it and skew it, and you can do whatever you want with it. It's just fire. It's not that, it's like a tree. Trees look different. All of them do. So it doesn't really matter. Like when, how trees are so easy to draw. It's like there's no right or wrong. Pretty much the same with fire. That fireball looks pretty cool there. Let's see about this one. This is like super clean. I love this one. So it's like, do we want to go with the clean look? I think we want to go with like the more gritty look. So let's just delete that out, and we'll stick with something a little bit more, a little bit more gritty. And if you want to add, you can do that too. You just like, bring that on top of there, and then you got like a super fireball. But it's gonna just become like, how believable is this actually gonna be? I don't know. There we go. Let's just delete that one out. So you guys, the reason I included a lot is so you could pick. That's basically the reason. There's really, let's see. I don't know. It's hard to pick though. There's so many like that are just really cool. And obviously it was not that hard to photograph these. It's just, just doing it. Yeah, it's just making them too big. When I'm adding them together, to me they're just getting like too big. I do wish that I could put them in different places of this image too. Let's just make those invisible and see if this would look good anywhere. But the problem that you get when you're working with fire and things like this is that fire is like, it's a light source, right? So if you were working with an image and you're adding a light source, you have to add that light source everywhere. So like, when, for instance, when we added this like blue, right? Well, we added the blue highlights on her, we had to do the same thing on the ground. So really you have to do, I mean, if you don't do that, then it's never going to be believable. So that's, I think when people go about adding fire to images, I think that's the first thing they usually do incorrectly, is they don't add the light source. So for instance here we had lights, you know, we could show you, you remember these probably. There was a light right there, right, that was shining a blue light that shines on her, shines in her hand, it decays naturally, it shines on the ground. So all we'd have to do now is put a light in the same place, right, that's blue, and it's going to look real. So that's really all you have to do. Just make sure you add the light that actually comes from the light source. All right, let's just zoom in, and we're going to see what's going on with this one. We'll put a layer mask on there because I can see a little bit of the outline here. You could use your levels adjustment layer and make it a little bit darker as well, just like we did earlier with the shadow when we made it lighter, because we're using a blending mode to make it actually be visible here, right? Alright, that's pretty cool. Now I do want to try to change the color if I can, so we'll just see about going to hue saturation. I'll hit Option Command G and we'll just try like pushing this color around. There we go. Let's go to that purple. The thing that I don't like about this is here I'm going to blue and I'm losing all that detail, and I'm like, why is that happening? So let's change it to like here, and then I'll just change it again with maybe like a curves adjustment layer. So we'll go to curves, Option Command G, and then let's just put a little more green in it and a little bit more blue. There we go. Maybe a little less red. Alright, and then we just want to make sure that that's about the same color as you know, the color was when we started. So we can shift and click on that, and provided that looks pretty good, we're good to go. So if it does look to be about the same color, we do lose a lot of definition though, huh, with this hue saturation. Let's try it a different way. Let's try an adjustment layer. Let's see, let's go up to our channel mixer. This is a pretty powerful way of changing colors. Red, and we'll put more blue in the channel, and then we'll go to our green channel and we'll put more blue in that. There we go. That's looking like a little bit hotter anyway. Alright, let's go back to our red channel. I really don't know much about this channel mixer. It's kind of hard to use, to be just 100% honest. So you know, I'm just like, I kind of just grab these things and move around. Anytime you change constant, it tends to look weird. But it's basically, you can change on a per channel basis. You can change what is going to be visible in the actual channel itself. But that's kind of hard to wrap my head around, to be honest. But that's what it does. All right, so that's getting pretty close. Let's just grab an adjustment layer. We'll go to curves again. Let's go to our blue channel. Let's try clipping it up there. There we go. So we got some blues now, you know, coming about down in the shadows. That looks pretty good. All right, and yeah, I like that. Maybe we can make it just a little bit bigger even. All right. Well, it's got to come a little bit smaller, just to be able to fit. Alright, and let's put a levels adjustment layer on there, just to like clip our blacks just a little bit. There we go. Cool. So we made, you know, that into that, just playing around really, doing a couple different things. And let's just shift click all those and hit Command G. So we do have a little bit more green going on here than we do the light on her face. So if you want to change that, it's really not that hard. You just go to hue saturation, Okay, or you can do curves. Let's try hue saturation. Okay, I'm going to clip that to her. We're going to go down now to our blues. I'll use my eyedropper to select the blues that are on her face, and we can just shift those a little bit to the left. Bring her saturation up, maybe bring the lightness up a little bit as well. And let's see how that looks. So it should help to match the color that's actually like coming from that flame just a bit more. Okay, and there we go. It does match a bit better. So this one as well, remember where we created the ground light, what we want to do is I want to go to hue saturation, and I want to change this color as well, right? Because it should be representative of what's going on here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we have our light on her, and now we're going to create our light on this gentleman here. And this time, it's just a little bit too yellow. Either it's too yellow, or he's too red. But let's just say that it's a little too yellow. We'll meet in the middle. We'll change them both. So I'm going to bring a levels adjustment layer. Option Command G. We'll clip that. Let's just like bring our darks up just a little bit, and that just gets rid of this around the border here. Let's just zoom in so you can see around the border where it wasn't pure black. You tend to see something like that, right? So this is just making sure we don't see that. Okay. Now we'll try the hue. We'll try the channel mixer again, because although I don't really know how to use it, we did use it. So take that, channel mixer. Haha. There we go. That's looking pretty good. A little bit more red in there. Let's go to our red channel. Cool. Get even more red. Alright, looks like blue's not doing much. Alright, let's go to our blue channel. There we go. Cool. That looks pretty good. Got a little bit more red going on in that little guy there. Okay. Let's see about maybe scaling it, or I don't know what to do with this just yet. Maybe we'll make it just a bit smaller. Yeah, kind of cool. So it kind of looks like, you know, there's like a ball of flame in his hand, and we're just going to zoom in here. Let's hit Command T, and I'm going to rotate this around just a little bit to look like it's going, you know, straight up. Alright, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to put a layer mask on there, and let's just paint out all this. This is lighter fluid that we were spraying directly at the tennis ball. Under adult supervision, I promise. The only thing is the adult was me, so, you know, that's kind of dangerous, because I just do whatever I want most of the time. Okay, let's make it invisible where his like pinky is, right? There we go. Got this little glowing ball of fun in his hand, and then she's going to be doing the same. So we'll just group those, and I'm going to just label this one as blue, and this one is red, because that's what they are. Alright, our layer mask on this, and we will make this invisible. Now, if this were very close to the camera, I would spend a little bit more time on this, like, you know, blending it in and all that fun stuff, like especially around, you know, here with her fingers, and you could do some really cool stuff with this, but it's not really that close to the camera, so in this case I don't think that it really winds up making that big of a difference, but it is nice to just have like a finger poke on the other side. Alright, that's looking pretty dang cool, and it wasn't too hard. Now there are some other cool things we're going to do. I'm going to create a new layer. Okay, and then we're going to grab a brush tool, and then I want you guys to grab the this brush that's included. This is like the smoke slash fog slash fire brush. Okay, and I'm going to grab this color here and just kind of like paint around at a flow of about 20 to 30%. There we go. Just with this color there, just, you know, something like that. Something that looks pretty dang random. Okay, and you can change this from normal down to something like soft light if you want to do that. Let's see, down to screen, we can do that. But the point here is to kind of make this look like it's a glow around the light itself, right? So we're going to lower our opacity. So I'm going to hit V and then the number 1 to be like 10% visible. So something like that you want visible. You just don't want it to like overpower. This is, you know, it's supposed to be like cool and special effects and everything like that. So don't feel like you got to really hold back with it. But there's no reason to make something look cheesy. Alright, so we'll just do the same thing here. With some red in there. Alright? And then that we're gonna hit V and then number 1. And it's gonna go to screen as well. Alright, cool. So it's like you can kind of just barely see it. Alright. The other thing that I like to do, let's create a new layer. I'm gonna create a custom brush real quick. We'll just start off with a normal brush. We'll go to Window and down here to Brush. I'm gonna turn on Size Jitter, Shape Dynamics, turn my minimum diameter all the way down. Okay. We're going to turn on scattering. I'm going to turn my brush tip shape. We're going to turn our hardness up and our spacing up quite a bit as well. Alright, and now what I'm going to do is basically like I want to choose a color here and I want to start painting around. Let's turn our scattering way up, our count way down. Alright, and then we're going to change this to something like color dodge. Yeah, color dodge looks pretty good. Alright, I want some of these to be more visible and less visible too. So we're going to change our flow jitter all the way up and our opacity jitter all the way up as well. So some of these will be more visible and some of these will be less visible depending on where they are. Alright, let's bring our spacing up even more. This is just going to put a little bit less of those in the sky. Alright, so this is just kind of like those, lights that appear near things. This is what we're making right now. Like little particles, particulate or whatever in the air. Just kind of cool. Alright, yeah, that looks good there. We're going to use our eraser in just a second to get it going on. But before we do, let's go ahead and just save this brush out. So I'm going to just click over here on the little menu, got a new brush preset, and we'll call this fire stuff. I don't know. Fire atmosphere. There we go. So we've created a fire atmosphere brush. Alright, and let's go ahead and close this out. So we've created one here. Let's just go ahead and do the same thing on a new layer. Same brush, we'll just change our colors, right? It makes it just look like a bit cooler. You can change this from normal down to color dodge again. Cool. It just adds that like nice little bit of character there. And on this one, we're going to put a layer mask on there, and then I'm just going to grab a normal brush again, and then I'm going to paint black with a nice soft round brush to make it kind of like fade away, like you only see this stuff right next to the fire. So just, these little bits of like atmosphere and stuff like that really can help out make something like sell a little bit more. Alright, we'll put a layer mask on this too, and I'll just fade these out just a little bit. So stuff like that, you can see there's the before and the after. I mean, it's not going to like blow your mind, but it just makes it look like a little bit more real, And then sometimes you can even do this. This is kind of cool. I've never ever done this before. I'm going to grab this color, make just a large brush. Yeah, something like that. And change this back to like 5% opacity. And then something like this. This would be like where that thing would cause like a flare in the lens, you know what I mean? And let's see if we would have this be visible there. Yeah, I don't know. Put a layer mask on there and just paint black, like, like sure, yeah, that happens. A little flare there. Why not? Just for fun. You can hit Command J on that. Let's just bring that to our other group. make this other one down here, but we're going to hit Command U. I'm going to change this to red, because it should be red, right? There we go. We'll just make that one pretty large. Cool. So just like little, little things that you can do like that are just going to make it look a little bit more like it's got some atmosphere and some feeling and things like that to it. All right. Let's work a little bit more with color. We definitely have some more to talk about here. What we're going to do is let's just grab a nice green. We've got this color, and that needs to interact with our subject here. And then this color, we need to put a tiny bit of that color back on to that subject there. So that's what we're going to work on doing right now. So let's go ahead and start on getting some of this red onto our woman biker. Okay. Now I did bring in these extras here. Let's talk about those real quick. Extras, we've got a couple. We've got one for detail in the back of the bike there. Okay. We've got one for this detail that's let's just bring those over there. Some of these I don't remember why we have them. Oh, this is for her hair. Oh, okay. Cool. So let's just put a layer mask on that. And then I'm going to paint black on her hair. And I'm going to hit Command I. So then now we just have hair that, remember, someone was holding a light there and her hair has been lit by it now. So if we can make this color her hair, like if we can make her hair do that because someone was holding a light there, then that would be great. And that was totally on accident, by the way, that even was done, but we're going to use it, right? Alright, why not? I'm going to right click and say apply that layer mask. Okay, and we're going to go to curves, adjustment layer, option Command G, and we're just going to pump up the red here. Pull down our blue a little bit. Alright, and now we just need to lower our opacity a little bit, figure out about where this is going to go. Alright, let's put a layer mask on that hair. Alright, and I'm just using a soft edge brush here, and I'm going to make it really nice and small and just kind of like feather some of this in and out. Hair and stuff like that, it's not that hard usually, especially if, if you're blending it into the background like that. So there we go. I'm just using a soft brush and a layer mask. Like, you guys can totally do that. Alright, there we go. So we've got that like nice bit of hair there, looking good. Now I don't want the red to be visible everywhere because it's here on her face. So I'm going to double click on this and have it be only visible where the underlying layer is lighter, because that's where the highlight is, that's where the color from this should be. So from left to the right, we're going to, let's see, bring that up. Alright, you know what, we'll make it visible. I'm just going to use a layer mask to make it not visible on the right side. Alright. Alright, and maybe that's a win, maybe it doesn't even look good, I don't know. Either way, whether we decide to do that or not, we can definitely do a couple of cool things. I'm going to grab our curves adjustment layer, option Command G, let's try this. We're going to bring up our reds now and bring down our blues. Okay? There we go. Hit Command I. And then we can just start painting it in on our layer mask here on the left side of our subject. So this might actually wind up working out better than trying to do the other way. This is just bringing some color in. And it should show up mostly on the highlight areas, right? So if I double click here and tell this to only be visible on the highlights, it should blend in quite a bit more naturally. Let's just bring this in to actually look like some of that color is coming over. Alright, so there's the before and the after that. It's just gonna like warm it up a little bit from what's going on over there. Cool. Let's see what the other extras were. This one was done for detail down there, which I don't think we really need, and this one was done for a little bit of light up here on the front of the motorcycle tire. Let's see how that looks. Alright, and we'll just bring this in. The reason I was thinking I might do this is because there are some lights in the background. You can see these and things like that, which would create a little bit of rim on the tire. And this is just basically seeing, like, does it even make a difference? Do I really want to do it? All those things. Let's apply this layer mask. And I think it should be more towards the top anyway. Alright, so these are, you know, options. Not, hey, you have to use this. They're just options. This would need to get quite a bit warmer, right, in color, if it's supposed to be a light that's coming from there. So we're going to grab a curves adjustment layer, Option Command G to clip that on there, and then we're going to grab some red, pull that up, and then really crank down our blues. So we can see, like, you know, is it better before or after? Yeah, before looks a little bit, or sorry, the after does look good. It's just kind of like saying, hey, yeah, there's a little bit of light that's coming from up there. So we happened to take those images by chance. That's all it is. I wouldn't expect most people to have done that, and if we hadn't done that, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but we did, so we used that. And there we go. Looks a little bit more like it blends in, so that's nice. Alright, let's just click all those and hit delete. So we've added, not only did we add that extra, but we added a bit of the light that's going to come from behind there with the, there we go, with that light source there. Alright, and that looks pretty good. I think I'm liking it. This bike is a little bit too cool for me still. It's just like a little bit too cool in color temperature. So I'm going to just grab a curves adjustment layer. We're going to hit Option Command G. And I'm just going to add a little bit more red and a little bit less blue. Alright, and then see where this is going to be visible. Sometimes things wind up looking good on the entire image, which is cool. Then you just like leave it there. But I'm going to paint this away from right up there because I want that to be a bit more blue. Okay. Now what we're going to do is kind of the opposite. Instead of adding more red to fit the background, I want to add even more of this color. So we're going to go to curves again. We're going to grab our blue channel. We're going to kind of bring this up a little bit. Bring the green. Option Command G will clip this, okay? So it's just going to show up where she is. Alright, hit Command I. And then I want to just paint this in the area that's already supposed to have this like blue-green color to it. But only touching the blue areas. And how do you do that? Well, you can double click on here and you can tell this layer to not affect your red channel or your green channel. It should only affect your blues. There we go. So affecting my blues, and I want to put more green in it, which actually won't let me do because it's only allowing the blues to come through. Alright, cool, that's good to know. let's turn this back on. I think I did that in maybe the wrong way. I don't know. There should be some greens up there. Okay, I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. I'm going to make this layer invisible. Okay, we're going to go to select and down here to color range, and then I'm going to choose the blues that are on her face. Let's just bring our fill light up a little bit, or our there we go, our fuzziness rather. So that's selecting out those blues. We're going to hit OK on that, which is going to select those out. Let's make this visible. And now I'm going to hit Shift Command I to inverse that selection, so it's selecting everything that's not the blues. And then here on the layer mask, I'm going to hit Shift Delete and fill that with black. Alright, so there's the before and the after. So it should only be affecting my blues now because I used the selection. I tried using the knockout of the color channels, but it just didn't work in the way that I wanted it to. So we're using this instead. But that's just going to kind of help get everything looking good and keep our color separated, because when I didn't have that, so this is what my layer mask looks like now. When I didn't have that layer mask, see how it was like making everything like too green and stuff? Especially like back here, it was just looking kind of weird, kind of bad. So glad we took care of that. All right, we're looking pretty good, guys. We're looking pretty not horrible. All right, we've got our woman here. Let's see our fire. Here, I'm going to just add a little bit more of a layer mask right there. Cool. That looks pretty good. Let's see. Our guy looks pretty good. We're doing great, guys. Sometimes I just have to like look at an image for a bit and just be like, okay, where does it still need some work? But we definitely are. We're getting closer, which looks really great. Let's look at it again in just black and white in a couple different color modes. That'll help us, decide a couple things. Oh, okay. One thing that I will talk about. So light levels now. Let's look at our light levels. So we're going to keep this channels on. You can have this on or off actually. And then we're going to turn threshold on. So what this threshold does is it shows you how light spreads across your image. So as you bring this all the way to the right, these are the lightest parts of your image, okay? All the way to the right, these are the lightest parts of your image. All the way to the left reveals kind of like everything. So what you should have is you should be able to see your light sources first, okay? Which you can, right? You have light sources down there. This is light source. But we have a little bit of an inconsistency here. And this is why threshold is so nice when you're working with light sources and shadows and all that sort of stuff like that, right? Because you can just see things a little more clearly. So what our inconsistency right here, you can see it right there, is that her hand is getting bright before the fire. Can you see that? Her hand has light and then the fire comes in, which basically tells me this can't happen. That tells me the light source is her hand and then the fire is lit. Well, we know the opposite's true. The light source has to be the fire, and that's what's lighting her hand. So her hand can't possibly be brighter than the light source. She can't absorb twice the light that's actually put out, right? So that tells me that our light source is not bright enough to actually make her hand that bright. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But basically we can just use this and see. You could probably, I don't know if you could just look at it and tell. You probably could say, oh, that's not bright enough. It might be harder with color visible, but here it's pretty obvious. Like, oh, yep, it needs to be brighter. So what we'll do is we'll make an adjustment layer. We'll just go up to curves, and I'm going to bump that up a bit in brightness. I'm going to hit Command I, and then we're just going to load. So there we go. And just make that a little bit brighter. Alright, so now we can look at this and see, hopefully, her hand is still getting brighter before the light source. So if you don't want, like, I don't really like that, to be honest. I think that made the fire look worse. So what we need to do now, in turn, is try to make her hand a little bit darker. So let's try that. Biker, here we go to the woman group, and then curves adjustment layer, Option Command G. Try to make her hand just a bit darker there. It's a lot darker, but I'm going to hit Command I on that layer mask. Alright, and then we're going to paint white here. And I'm just using a regular brush to do this. Trying to stick mostly with the... There we go. Make it a little bit brighter towards the tips to show like, oh, maybe it's coming from the tips of her fingers. Okay, cool. And there we have, that looks quite a bit better because it fits actually with. So it's even little details like that it's like it's tough to think about them, and it's tough to get them, but once you see the before and after, you're like, oh yeah, that pretty much needed to happen. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let's see about adding some color back into our background here, and we can do that with a curves adjustment layer. So we're just going to grab a curves. Maybe we'll just put a little bit more red back in there. Kind of looks good in the backdrop. Doesn't have to be visible everywhere. Alright, I think I like it back here and maybe around that fire. So I'm going to hit Command I on the layer mask. We're going to grab a brush tool, use a soft edged large brush, and just paint this red, especially where he is. That looks pretty good. Alright. And let's add some yellow in there too. Some curves, and then we'll just go to our blue channel and pull that down. Alright, so let's see the change that made. There's the before and the after. Not a huge change, but just kind of looks like it's got a little bit more color, and it makes more sense that these these bikers would be so saturated there. Alright, so that fire looks pretty good. I think we did a really good job with that. Looks good. Okay, next we're going to be dodging and burning, and then the final section we're going to be bringing it all together and doing a little bit more color work with this image, but it's looking great. Good job for following along so far, guys. Proud of you. Let's knock it out. This is when I hit stop.